Hey everyone, it's John here from Untitled Hockey, back with another video, and this video is going to look into the Vancouver Canucks, and it's going to be sort of an early 2020-2021 lineup and roster prediction. So I'm going to go over different scenarios, different trades that the Canucks can make this offseason. So if you are new to the channel, please subscribe, smash that like button, and leave your thoughts in the comment section below. I might be getting a new Canucks jersey soon, maybe, so look for that as well. But we're going to get right into it. We're not going to waste any time. Let's go Markstrom and Toffoli. So I think best case scenario, if you're looking at the Vancouver Canucks, they want to bring these two guys back. And I think 30 years of age, he had a year where if he was healthy for the full year, he could have easily been right there for the Vezina. I think a lot of Canucks fans, and I think even for myself, I think he could possibly still get nominated for the Vezina. So we're going to give him the contract. He's 30 years old. We're going to give him $6 million. Maybe that's a little bit of a pay cut for him. But again, it's not like he's been super consistent over his career. He had a very good year. So we'll give $6 million. And we'll give him a contract that takes him to 35 years old. A 5-year term. It could be 4-year term, 5-year term. Maybe someone gives him a 6-year term. But I think a 5-year term is pretty reasonable at the $6 million cap hit. So we'll resign him at that point. And he's there with Demko. And then we're going to sign Tyler Toffoli, the exact same thing. 28 years of age. We're actually going to give him 6 years. To take him to 34, and we're going to give him $6 million right there. So I think Toffoli, I think some people have said Markstrom gets in the 5, Toffoli gets in the 5. Even with COVID and everything going on, it would be hard to see Toffoli getting less than 6, especially with the last 2 years he's had. I think he's a very consistent top 6 forward, and this is the only time he's going to get the opportunity of being a free agent, to be a UFA. So I think to be that UFA at your prime, I think he's going to want that contract. So he's going to jump back up with the line of Pettersson and JT Miller. And honestly, this is the safe bet to what you could look for the Canucks to start the season. I know Canucks fans are already saying, okay, you'll Levy making it. Maybe that's a little bit of a stretch. Well, okay, if you're not bringing back Tanev, if you're not bringing back Troy Stecher, there's going to be opportunities here. I think Rafferty's a guy that had a very good year in the AHL, and he could very well start with his team. I think he will. Jordy Ben's a guy, maybe you trade him. Again, if Levy's given that opportunity, possibly. But we're going to make some moves here. So this is, I would say, maybe the most realistic in terms of right off the bat. Maybe closest to reality, bringing back Markstrom and Toffoli and keeping it simple for the Canucks while other guys develop. That might be the vibe. But I am going to look into some more complicated moves and what I think could get the Canucks into a better situation in terms of cap and in terms of looking at the Seattle expansion draft. Because as much as it was easy for me to re-sign Markstrom right now, and again, this is the most ideal situation to bring back Markstrom and Toffoli, Markstrom is probably going to want a no movement clause. And the Canucks might not want to give him that unless he would be willing to waive it for the Seattle draft. Because I still think they have high hopes in Demko, and if they protect Markstrom, they would not be able to protect Demko. So we're going to retract the Markstrom and Toffoli moves here. There's one team that I think could make it work for the Vancouver Canucks in getting rid of the Louis Eriksson contract and possibly the Brandon Sutter contract as well. And I suggested it in a different video, but we're going to go over it again. So let's go for a trade here with the New Jersey Devils. And the Devils did not have a good year, not at all. I think the Devils obviously have the cap space to spend. They have a lot of guys that are penny UFAs, guys that are going to be out of contract even the following year as well. And they have a couple bad contracts as well. So I'm going with the Vancouver Canucks acquiring PK Subban. You heard me right. PK Subban, the $9 million cap hit. And also bringing back, man, people are going to think I'm crazy for this, Corey Schneider. Okay, I know. Already freaking out. But here's the deal here. Maybe the Devils retain some of the contract on Schneider or Subban, but the Canucks in this deal would be losing both the Louis Eriksson contract and the Brandon Sutter contract. Louis Eriksson and Brandon Sutter contracts are gone. See you later. All right? And honestly, I think you could probably even include the Jay Beagle contract in here. So Stage Stetcher, you don't even qualify him. I say maybe you include Stetcher. Maybe you include a guy like Ferland, Roussel. Let's just say we include Beagle. Again, I feel like maybe as like an incentive, you include someone else. But say you include Beagle or even Jordy Ben. Let's include Jordy Ben. All right, and then Here's the kicker, because you are getting probably the best player in this trade, PK Subban, even though the cap is ridiculous. So we're just going to submit this trade again. There might be a prospect included on the Devils or on the Canucks side going to the Devils, but we'll just have that as the trade for now. You bring back a guy like Fantenberg, and I think it could be very cheap for a guy like Fantenberg, like a 2-year deal, $900K. Again, with COVID going on, I could very well see this going down. I think there is legitimacy to a Red Wings Canucks trade here. And I think there's one guy that if you look at for the Red Wings, he's been connected to some trade rumors and he's got a cheaper cap hit, Luke Glendening. So I think if you're the Vancouver Canucks and you're trying to save cap, bringing in a guy like Luke Glendening could be very beneficial in that sense. For a guy like Svechnikov, maybe that's like the different opportunity for him with the Vancouver Canucks. You could add him in this trade, and then maybe you just like take a chance on a guy. I mean, Perlini could be a guy you take a chance on, and that's where you cut some cap. So you trade Jay Beagle, you trade Olli Levy. So this is where you're attaching him to create some more cap, and you're sending Sven Barchi to the Detroit Red Wings. So the Detroit Red Wings acquiring Jay Beagle, Olli Levy, and Sven Barchi. The Vancouver Canucks acquiring Luke Glendening, Evgeny Svechnikov, and Brendan Perlini. Again, are the Vancouver Canucks getting a lot of quality or a lot of value there? No. But they're saving cap. Yes, they're sending Olli Levy another way. Evgeny Svechnikov is a guy, he's 24 years of age. It's not like he has no value, but he's been a guy that really hasn't gotten that opportunity. He hasn't succeeded yet. Maybe in a different scenario, he has success for the Vancouver Canucks. But in this scenario, the Vancouver Canucks are moving on from Juolevi. The Red Wings are taking a chance on a guy that could still have top 4 potential, maybe. Again, maybe. And I think for people that are going to get mad at Juolevi maybe moving on, it's not like Juolevi, and again, I'm very confident in saying this, Juolevi is not going to be a top pairing defenseman. This is the time for the Vancouver Canucks. Elias Pettersson, Bo Horvat, Brock Besser, JT Miller. If you're looking at right now, you're trying to save that cap. You're trying to open things up. And yeah, bringing in a guy like Corey Schneider isn't ideal, but losing the Louis Eriksson contract and losing the Brendan Sutter contract, I think for the Vancouver Canucks, if you can get a compliance buyout, that is huge. You would get rid of the Louis Eriksson contract. That trade could still happen if you were getting rid of the Brendan Sutter contract and maybe another contract and bringing in PK Subban. I could still seeing that being possible for the Vancouver Canucks. I think PK Subban could be a good addition for some teams in terms of a change of scenery and maybe the Devils retaining some cap. But in terms of this trade, I like it for the Vancouver Canucks. You're acquiring Luke Glendening, who, I mean, overall does basically the same things as Jay Beagle. A great face-off percentage, great two-way, not so much offensively, but a strong defensive presence and a cheaper cap hit. Beagle, $3 million. Luke Glendening, $1.8 million. Yes, you're losing Juolevi. You're giving a chance to Brendan Perlini. You're giving a chance to Evgeny Svechnikov. And you're shaving, what, like $6 million cap combined with Beagle and Barchi, over $6 million? That would be huge for the Canucks. And you're seeing it right there. $13 million of cap space. You can still try to re-sign Jacob Markstrom. Again, that would be tough. Just to show you guys what the Eriksson kind of ramifications would be if they were to buy out Louis Eriksson without a compliance buyout. Corey Schneider, so $2 million, $2 million, $2 million, $2 million. I'm not sure if that would be the exact same for Louis Eriksson, but essentially, if they were to acquire Corey Schneider or if they were to keep Louis Eriksson, it would go over 4 years, and that's kind of how it would look like. So a compliance buyout would be so clutch for the Vancouver Canucks. They'd be one of the teams that would benefit the most from it, because getting rid of that Louis Eriksson contract just clean without getting another bad contract back, and that's where I think you can re-sign Toffoli again. Like I said, look how much cap space the Vancouver Canucks have, and that's where a situation where, like, boom, you can bring back Jacob Markstrom in that scenario as well. And I think he could maybe get 6.5, maybe closer to 7. Maybe that's a reach, but based on his year, maybe someone pays in that and bets on him having a good few years. And then we'll re-sign Chris Tanev just to show that it can fit. And I think, how much cap space do we have? 4.1. Does Tanev take that pay cut for the Vancouver Canucks? He talked about it a little bit. I think he's a very strong defensive presence. I think the fact that he's 30 years old, you probably only give him like a 4-year term. He has injury history, so a 4-year term at $4.5 million. And you could even have Rafferty in there. I don't know, but Rafferty is an extra defenseman. I would be very impressed with that defensive core for the Vancouver Canucks, at least to start the season. I mean, you're talking about Tanev then playing with Hughes again, Subban with Edler, or even Subban with Fantenberg and Myers in there as well. That's very solid for the Vancouver Canucks. That's where you go to Jake Virtanen. I think Virtanen is the conversation to have. Do you trade Virtanen or do you sign him? I think there's a possibility the Vancouver Canucks trade Jake Virtanen. Virtanen had an okay year, and maybe that's where you sign him to another bridge deal. And if I sign Virtanen, then we're going to figure that out right now. So if I sign Virtanen to, say, the same as Godet, because he put up basically the same numbers. So you sign him to a bridge deal, $2.5 million for 2 years. You have Ferland on that fourth line with McEwen. You're over the cap by $2 million. So, and that's the situation where, okay, you don't re-sign Tanev. You just don't. So we'll take Tanev out. And you have a situation where you have a top four of Myers, Hughes, Edler, Subban, Rafferty, and Fantenberg on that bottom pair. You have that cap space. Do you look into bringing a cheaper defensive defenseman? And that's the other option. I think it's been so focused on, do they have to bring back Tanev? Do they have to bring back Tanev? Well, if Tanev's going to require too much, do you consider bringing back a different UFA defenseman? Radko Gudas is there. Do you take a chance on Gudas? Brendan Dylan DeMello, he wouldn't be too expensive. He'd be like $2.5 million. And then do you trade Jake Virtanen? And you sign a guy like Dylan DeMello to maybe, again, he's 27. So maybe it's a 4-year term. Again, maybe it is $3 million. Maybe it's 2.5. We'll say for DeMello, it's 2.5 for 4 years. Or maybe he fits on with Hughes. I don't know. But we'll just say that for now. Not saying that's like going to be the pairings. Now you're over the cap by $33,000. That's pretty close, honestly. And you have Virtanen in there. So that's a situation where you can do something as simple as this. You just don't have Mott there. And if you want to afford that, and then you just bring up Gadjevich as the extra forward. And your cap fits. Not bad. So Pettersson, JT Miller, Toffoli on that top line. Besser, Horvat, Pearson, Roussel, Gaudette, Virtanen, McEwen, Glendening, Ferland, Gadjevich. And on the defense core, Hughes, Myers, DeMello, Edler. Again, no specific order. You have Subban in there. Subban can move up in the lineup as well. Maybe you do something like this. You have DeMello with Hughes, and then you have Subban with Edler, Myers with Fantenberg. I think the end of the season with Myers and Fantenberg, so maybe it's something like that. Rafferty could get an opportunity in there as well. And then Markstrom and Demko, and you literally have a 23-man roster with $83,000 of cap to spare. Man, that would be, I think, this could be a huge best-case scenario for the Vancouver Canucks. You know what? If Tanev wants to sign for $2.5 million somehow and stay with the Vancouver Canucks, maybe, but I think that's very unlikely. I would say the least he takes is like $4 million, Tanev, because I know he can get at least that somewhere else. But I would be very surprised. Maybe he does sign for less than that. But for Dylan DeMello, I think it would be in around $2.5-3 million. I think that's possibly more reasonable. I wouldn't say he's as solid as defensively as Chris Tanev, but in terms of defensive play, maybe a guy like Fantenberg steps up. Maybe a guy like Tyler Myers steps up. And obviously we know Markstrom can be dependable, so I don't think this is too bad at all. I think the fact that you shave the cap, maybe Subban has a bounce back year and that could be huge, but the fact that you're losing the Louis Eriksson contract, losing the Brandon Sutter contract, and for me getting a guy that could be more impactful in PK Subban, I think the potential is there. And of course, after that season, you'd be losing that contract of Edler, and that gives another opportunity for someone else to come in. Let me know what you think. Again, this could be a scenario here. I think the first scenario I showed, bringing back just Markstrom and Toffoli and doing a smaller adjustments with that, I think that would be more maybe realistic. Scenario before this where I showed Virtanen not in the lineup, I think in that scenario Virtanen would be traded and you would have Tanev in that lineup with Tanev, Toffoli, and Markstrom. I think for Stetcher, there's a possibility of him coming back, but maybe they just don't qualify him or they include him in a trade and trade his RFA rights. That's potential there. But let me know what you think. Let me know what scenario you think. If you like some of the trades I suggested or the cap hits, if you agree with them. Is Dylan DeMello a potential target for the Vancouver Canucks? Please subscribe if you're new. Smash that like button and definitely leave your thoughts. This was John from Untitled Hockey. Have a good one. Hope to see you soon. Peace out.